Hello, everyone out there tuning in. Thanks for joining us today on our live webinar sessions. My name is Ashley Bickle. I work in the recruitment department at Loyalist College, and I'm so happy to have here with me today Paul Lutz, who is a Customs and Border Services professor and program coordinator as well. So we got a few housekeeping things here before we get started into our great info session here. So we have this great chat feature as part of Zoom, and you'll find it at the very bottom of your screen there. You can ask any questions in this chat, goes directly to Loyalist College, and we will answer any program-specific questions that you may have about the fantastic Customs and Border Services program, or any general college questions that you may have as well. So get those questions in there. We'll be happy to answer those program-specific questions at the very end of the session. So get those in there for sure. So Paul, thank you for joining us today. We're so happy to have you here. Would you start by telling us a little bit about yourself and your professional background?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ashley. Thanks for having me. As Ashley mentioned, my name is Paul Lutz. I'm one of the coordinators in the Customs Border Services program at Loyalist College. Previously, I worked with the Canada Border Services Agency as a border services officer for about 10 years. I started in Niagara Falls and then moved to the Thousand Islands border. And from there, I transferred to teaching at Loyalist. So I started part-time at Loyalist 2018, and that summer I got hired on full-time and had to make the difficult decision on what to do, and chose to pursue teaching full-time. But previously, some of my experience working at the border, I was responsible for seizing contraband like firearms, weapons, all those things, keeping the bad things off the streets of Canada. I was also responsible for keeping people out of Canada, criminals and that kind of thing, and also welcoming new immigrants to Canada, like the refugees and different people that are seeking a better life in Canada. So I was responsible to process their paperwork and admit them entry into the country. I've also worked in the commercial stream with the border and processing large shipments of goods, inspecting trailers for contraband, and making sure that all the paperwork is complete for the goods to be allowed into Canada.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. So some really great industry background that you're bringing to this program, which I think is really fantastic. So could you start by telling us a bit about this program?
Yeah, so the Customs Border Services program is a 2-year diploma, just like all of our Justice Studies programs at Loyalist College. So the first year is more of a general focus on a broad range of material related to all of our 4 Justice programs, because as you all probably know by now, our first year is a common first year. So you're integrated in classrooms with police foundations, with protection, security, and investigations, community justice services, and customs border services. And from there is when you can really make your choice if you want to pursue one of those 4 programs in your second year. If you do stick with customs border services, our second year is very specific to the job of a border services officer, as well as touching on customs brokerage and the paperwork for the movement of goods. Our second year courses dive into subjects such as immigration, enforcement, searching vehicles and luggage, processing travelers, goods, and mental health awareness and resiliency.
That's awesome. Yeah, so some really great topics covered for sure. Can you tell us a little bit about how students are learning within this program?
Yeah, for sure. So our students learn a lot by doing. While we do have a lot of material to focus on and actually teach in the program, we like to get our students up and involved as much as possible. We find that the students really appreciate the hands-on approach to learning. And whether it's searching through luggage to find contraband, conducting interviews, processing vehicles in our primary inspection lane. We actually had a booth that was donated by the Canada Border Services Agency for simulations on campus. So we do a lot of that stuff like that. We do mock arrests. We inspect vehicles in our automotive garage. We find the students have a lot of opportunities to practice what we teach, giving them the confidence moving forward to actually do the job that they're hoping to do once they graduate.
That's awesome. I love that. So some really cool simulations. And I know you kind of touched on those already, but can you tell us a little bit about the experiential learning opportunities that students are having within this program?
Yeah, for sure. So I have touched on a few of them. We have a lot of opportunities for our students to actually practice some of the concepts that we teach them. For example, we teach students the proper primary questions to ask that they would experience if they're traveling across a border, a land border specifically, driving up to the booth. So we give them an opportunity to practice those questions on our virtual border app, which is a really neat computer application that the students can use. Once they've kind of got a good feeling for that, then we move them into the real life border booth that we have on campus, and we do simulations where there's real cars pulling up and they're the officers asking the questions and that kind of thing. And it really prepares them for what it's like to be a border services officer working in the booth. Also, for the first time this year, we developed the Loyalist Airport culminating activity. This culminating activity took part at the end of the student's second year. So it was kind of an all-encompassing activity where students were able to use all of the knowledge that they gained in the last 2 years and really put it to use. So they had different functions working in the airport setting that we had. And they processed a lot of people that were coming through as travelers. And within some of those travelers were individuals who had some emergency medical needs. And our students had to react to those emergencies. And we worked with the paramedic and nursing programs as well. So they were able to contact the paramedics, have them come in. The paramedic students came and tended to the subjects. And then they transferred them to the hospital, and the nursing students took over from there. We also have a focus on the brokerage and logistics side of things as well. We've created a culminating activity for students that emulates what it's like to work in a customs brokerage environment. So they're given a list of goods that need to be imported, and it's up to the student to figure out what exactly they need for paperwork and permits and all of that to actually import these goods into Canada. So we kind of emulate exactly what it's like to work in a brokerage environment. And the reason we do that is a lot of our placement opportunities are actually in customs brokerages. So it's a really good way to prepare our students for placement as well. Speaking of placement, we do have 2 4-week block placements in second year. So they run from mid-November to mid-December and mid-March to mid-April. And our students in placement, depending on where they want to go in Canada, we meet with every student at the start of their second year, talk about where they can live, if they have family or friends anywhere in Canada that they'd like to go live with for the month, or stay locally, it's fine as well. And then we find out what their interests are. So if their interests are more immigrant services, then we have placements where they can work with newcomers who have just arrived in Canada, either permanent residents or refugees or people working or studying here. And our students will help them kind of adjust to a life in Canada. And then we also have a lot of customs brokerage and customs logistics placements as well, where students can handle more of the paperwork for the goods that are coming across Canada. And in terms of geographic locations, if a student wants to work out west because they have family out there, we're able to place them out west. Over the last couple of years, we placed students all the way from BC to Nova Scotia and even Nunavut. So
That is really cool. Yeah, so some really amazing placement opportunities out there for sure. Can you touch on what makes your program so unique?
yeah, for sure. So the program itself is quite unique. As you know, there's not very many customs programs in Canada. So that alone is a unique aspect of this justice cluster that we have at Loyalist. And in terms of our geographic location, being in Belleville, Ontario, it's quite an advantage for us because we're only 3 hours away from Ottawa, which is the CBSA headquarters. So we're able to use that location as an advantage because we're able to get a lot of guest speakers in from Canada Border Services Agency. This year, actually, we had 2 individuals come from CBSA who were recruiters, and they came down and did mock interviews with our students. So the interviews with to enter as a border services officer are quite different from your standard interviews. And these recruiters were able to come and help our students prepare by basically giving them a very close to real life interview to become a border services officer. And it really helped the students prepare for hopefully their future career if that's what they want to do. We're also only about 3.5 hours away from the CBSA Training College in Rigaud, Quebec. And what's good about that is every September, we're able to do a field trip up there. And our students are able to go up for the day, see exactly what it's like to be a border services officer in training and get that experience of what hopefully once they graduate, they're going to apply for and what they're going to be able to expect once they're in that training college.
That's awesome. Yeah, that would definitely be a very cool trip to go on for sure. So can
Yeah.
you tell us what students enjoy most about your program?
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, a lot of our students talk about that field trip throughout the whole year. They really, really love that. It's a great experience, an eye-opening one for them because they get to see different simulations. They get to see the detector dogs and all that stuff as well. So they really like that. They also really enjoy the hands-on activities that we have throughout the program. I've received really positive feedback as to how much they enjoy teaching or doing the skills that we're teaching them. They also really love the different guest speakers that we have come in. I've got a lot of colleagues, previous colleagues of mine that work in the Lansdowne Thousand Islands Port of Entry. That's only about an hour away from Belleville. So I'm able to get them in, give the students a different perspective on what their experiences were and some of the different job opportunities within the Canada Border Services Agency itself, because there are a whole wealth of opportunities once you actually get in. So it's nice. They really enjoy the guest speakers. We also find that the students love their placements. The first week, each student is kind of very nervous. As you can imagine, you're going into a new workplace, not really sure what the environment's going to be like. But those last 3 weeks of their first placement are amazing. The students love it. They gain a lot of experience that way, and they find out different jobs that they may not have thought they were interested in. They find that they're really enjoying. So it opens up new opportunities for them as well.
That's awesome. Yeah, very well said, Paul. Thank you. So kind of a couple more questions for you here, and a really important one. Where are students finding work upon graduation from this program?
Okay, yeah. So it's no secret that we focus on our students preparing for a job as a border services officer with the Canada Border Services Agency, but that's not our only focus. So we do focus on customs brokerage and logistics as well, so the movement of goods crossing the country. And we find a lot of our students get job opportunities right out of placements, especially with those customs brokerages. So it could be from anywhere in Canada, but typically the bigger cities offer those types of opportunities. So we've a lot of students gravitate towards those jobs as soon as they graduate, and they get a lot of job offers directly from their placement. But other than that, we do have students that also get hired on with immigrant services, helping refugees and newcomers into Canada. We've had some students that really enjoy that opportunity as well and end up working there for years after they graduate. But besides that, we also have students who have gone into policing, have gone into private security or corrections. Basically, any of these four justice programs are great for any of those types of jobs. And students, maybe they thought they wanted customs and changed their mind, but still went through the program and ended up getting a great job afterwards anyways.
That's awesome. Yeah, so some really exciting opportunities out there for employment, certainly. Now, Paul, we have our last kind of question that I'm going to ask you, and then we're
Sure.
going to turn into our questions from our audience here. What do you love most about Loyalist?
Oh, okay, good question. What I love most about Loyalist? Well, what really attracted me to Loyalist was the size of the school. First of all, it is a smaller school, but we do offer all the amenities of the larger schools. And what's great about a smaller school is you get to know all of the faculty, you get to know all of the students, and you have more opportunities to do a lot of one-on-one hands-on training with the students to actually help them prepare for the job that they're hoping to do in the future. So just with the smaller class sizes and the smaller college itself, we do offer a lot of more opportunities in smaller groups. And the students seem to really enjoy that. They really gravitate towards learning in smaller groups and can have more opportunities to practice things. So I think the size of the college itself is what really makes me enjoy the college and what really attracted me to the college to begin with.
For sure. Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that. Absolutely. So we come to this great part of our live webinar sessions where our audience asks these fantastic questions. So we've got a few great questions coming in here. Paul, are you ready to go for some questions
Sure.
here?
Yeah, bring it on.
Awesome. All right, let's roll into it. So we have here, how much of this course is hands-on versus in class, which I think is a really great question.
That is a good question. It's hard to pinpoint exactly what it would be, but it's probably, close to 60% in class, 40% hands-on. And the focus on the hands-on stuff really comes towards the end of the 2-year program, when we can really put all of the stuff we've taught you to use. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities to actually get hands-on, do scenarios. We have a whole course that's actually, it's called Forensic Search, and it's just searching vehicles. So we have a partnership with the automotive garage at Loyalist, and our students are able to go in there with some vehicles that they've been donated and actually learn how to properly take vehicles apart and find contraband. We also do a lot of mock arrest scenarios. So the students are using real handcuffs, really going in for arrests, dealing with clients that may have, bad reactions to being told they're being under arrest, and learning how to deal with those difficult situations. So there's a lot of opportunities that you may not really think of that we do offer in the program.
That's awesome. Yeah, so some really cool opportunities to get in there, get hands-on, and search those vehicles. I think that would be really exciting for students to do. We've got one more here. What type of careers can you attain from this program? We kind of discussed that already. And how much money are people making? Which I think is a really good question as well.
Yeah, no, that's what a lot of people's motivation is, and I don't blame anybody for that, for sure.
Absolutely.
In terms of different job opportunities, I did kind of touch on a few of them, but anything justice related that you can think of, anything that you're dealing with the public, it could be security, it could be policing or customs. Those are just your kind of typical ones. From there, if you do work for the Canada Border Services Agency, you typically start out as a Border Services Officer, and that's working the front lines. You see them on the news. They're the ones arresting people at the border for smuggling. They're the ones dealing with the refugee crisis in Canada that are meeting all these immigrants that are crossing the border. Those are your Border Services Officers. But once you're in the Canada Border Services Agency, there's a ton of career opportunities. There's programs opportunities where you're working at headquarters, building policies, procedures, that kind of thing. There's a targeting center, so you're focused in an office setting, gathering all this information on the computer for shipments that are coming in and choosing which shipments to target based on the risk factor, that kind of thing. And there's all sorts of immigration opportunities as well. But in terms of like starting salaries for your typical ones, if you start out working as a customs broker, which a lot of our students end up getting job offers from placement, like I said, it starts out about $40,000 to $50,000 a year. But they're pretty big companies for the most part, and there are opportunities to move up in those companies for sure. But after that, if you're looking at becoming a Border Services Officer, your starting salary is about $65,000 for your first year. But that's just your base salary. And we talk about it a lot in our program. We have people come in and talk about their experiences when they started out. You're making a lot more than $65,000 in your first year because you're working overtime quite often if you choose to. You also get shift premiums any day of the week that you work after 4 p.m. or if you work on weekends, you get shift premiums. And it is shift work, so you're expected to work on the weekends as well. So there's a lot of opportunities. You get paid for holidays, all that sort of stuff as well. And after your first year, once your probation's over, you get a big jump in your salary. And in your second year, it's easy to make over $100,000 a year without having to burn yourself out with overtime or anything. So it's a very lucrative career for young people, especially. And that's a big attraction to the job as a Border Services Officer for sure.
That's awesome. Now, Paul, I want to thank you so much for your time and your amazing information that you provided with us about the Customs and Border Services program at Loyalist. And for everyone out there tuning in, thank you for joining us. I guess that's it for today. Thanks so much, and we'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Ashley, and thank you all so much for joining. If you do choose Loyalist, I know you won't be disappointed. You have great faculty here that are very motivated to help everyone out. Whether it's extra one-on-one help you need or just more time in the classroom, we're always available to help as much as possible. That's the nice thing about the small school. I hope you're all doing well in these difficult times. And if you do run into any questions, reach out to us via email and we'll definitely get back to you. Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Paul. We'll see y'all later. Bye.
Take care.